Today, we are going to examine artificial intelligence, but perhaps not in the way you're used to. We're not looking at it as a source of disruption, but rather as a strategic instrument for economic resilience. We're going to set aside those abstract, far-off future scenarios to really analyze its practical function in the here and now as an essential foundation for navigating and even succeeding in a complex and often resource-constrained economic landscape. All right, let's dive right in.
So let's start with a really foundational question. In an economy that's really characterized by these rapid technological cycles and, of course, market volatility, what do you think is the single most critical capability for ensuring long-term economic relevance? Just think about that for a moment. Is it a specific technical certification, maybe mastery of a single software suite?
Well, the answer is actually more fundamental than any single hard skill. It's adaptability, that dynamic capability to continuously learn, to pivot, and to reallocate your resources with maximum efficiency. You see, this capacity for change is really the new bedrock of economic viability, and it is precisely this area that AI assistance is designed to augment.
So, the next logical question is, how does AI actually help build this adaptability? Well, first, let's look at its role as your skill development ally. We're going to explore how it helps you maintain your relevance, because in today's economy, being relevant isn't a passive state. It is an active, ongoing, strategic process of developing your own human capital. You know, this process really marks a fundamental shift away from high-risk guesswork and toward a data-driven strategy. It used to be that choosing a new skill to learn was often a bit of a gamble on what future trends might be. But now, AI systems can analyze these vast data sets on market dynamics and labor demand to pinpoint critical emerging skills. And then they go a step further. They curate a personalized learning pathway for you, transforming upskilling from a reactive measure into a proactive and highly efficient process, one that aligns your efforts directly with real economic demand. Okay, so once you have the right capabilities, the next challenge is deploying them effectively, right? And this brings us to the second function of AI, the amplifier. Here, the focus shifts to personal and operational productivity, and specifically reclaiming your finite cognitive and temporal resources for the work that generates the most significant value. Just consider for a moment the significant cognitive overhead that gets consumed by routine administrative tasks. The back and forth of scheduling, the mental energy you spend just trying to prioritize tasks, the time lost to inefficient information retrieval. Well, personal AI assistants are engineered to absorb these operational burdens. They automate the logistical planning and optimize your workflows so that your human intellect can be directed somewhere else, somewhere more important.
And that really gets to the core purpose of all this automation. See, the objective is not simply to reduce your workload, it's about strategically reallocating your human attention. It's about freeing up your cognitive bandwidth for the tasks that truly demand creativity, strategic foresight, and complex problem solving. This is what we call high-value work, the kind of work that produces those asymmetric economic returns and drives sustainable career growth.
Now let's apply these concepts to a particularly dynamic segment of the modern economy, the independent workforce. For freelancers, consultants, and small enterprises, AI is more than just an amplifier. It actually functions as a navigator. It democratizes access to the kind of market intelligence that's required to compete effectively.
The contrast here is pretty stark. On the left, we see a model that's really based on intuition and reaction, pricing based on anecdote, research conducted manually, and a passive posture toward market opportunities. But on the right, we see a complete AI-powered strategic transformation. Analytical tools can provide data-driven pricing models, deliver real-time insights on client demand, and even offer predictive analysis of future skill requirements. This gives the individual operator an analytical capability that was previously accessible only to large established organizations.
So let's synthesize these functions. What is the aggregate effect of deploying AI as an ally, an amplifier, and a navigator? Well, it represents a structural shift. A shift from a position of economic vulnerability in the face of uncertainty to one of strategic empowerment and resilience. And this brings us to a much more modern definition of workforce relevance. It's no longer a static state that you achieve once, it's a dynamic process of continuous alignment. And that alignment is actively supported and accelerated by AI-driven insights, which create this direct feedback loop between your personal development and what's happening in the economy in real time. And this is the ultimate outcome.
Every single application we've discussed, from personalized upskilling and productivity optimization to predictive market analysis, it all converges on this one single critical objective. By enabling you to remain skilled, efficient, and strategically aware, AI directly reduces your exposure to economic shocks. It is, in essence, your strategic defense.
So we'll conclude with this thought. The technology is no longer theoretical. It's an accessible and powerful operational tool. It stands ready to act as a partner in constructing your economic future. The only question that remains is a strategic one. Are you ready to develop the frameworks and the foresight needed to partner with it effectively?